We are your landlords, flooding and tapping out so you don't have to, with the occasional screw. My name is HamHocks42. I am your host who just can't stop touching his graveyard.
Hey everyone, and I'm Astralsflame. I'm the guy that plays a lot of and Jund, and more Jund. We're here to bring you our first listing, the State of Magic the Gathering Arena. Ham,
Absolutely.
how are you
Yeah.
feeling about Arena right now? What's your take in this current state of affairs? I guess as we'll call it.
Yeah. So when it comes to Arena, I find the client very interesting, of course, for a myriad of reasons. Whether Wizards has managed it well or not is a totally different topic. But at the end of the day, the primary format on Arena is Standard. So it's something that we see if Standard is in a healthy place. In general, I think Arena is in a pretty healthy place. And we're at a spot right now where we just recently had rotation. So Standard is in kind of a cool, weird dynamic place. However, we do see a pretty nasty power imbalance in the meta right now, which anybody who's played Standard in the last couple of weeks since rotation has absolutely seen it. There's no way that you haven't. And I'm talking, of course, about like the power of black in general. The black cards just tend to be on average a little bit better than everything out there. And so naturally, there's a mono black deck running around that, and maybe a couple of different flavors of it, but it's very popular and one that we see a lot.
Yeah,
It's very straightforward, very powerful. Yeah.
it's definitely prevalent. It's literally like, I won't say it's just linear curve, because I never like saying about that deck. Every deck has its niche, every deck has its interactions. But this quite is what I would say is close to a potential linear curve deck as could get. You play your 1-drop, you play a 2-drop or hold up removal. It's Trespasser on 3, she holds it on 4, or Liliana on 3, and then invoke on 5, and then you don't come back from that unless unless you're the one on the play with an aggressive board state that can handle anything like that. And even then, you've got a 2-for-1 a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, and I've heard a lot of people, the one thing that you're absolutely right. The play pattern of the black deck is play the best 2-drop you have, play the best 3-drop you have. And like you're saying, it's usually like Tenacious Underdog on 2, or hold up Infernal Grasp. Either way, you're doing fine. Yeah, you got Liliana, you've got Graveyard Trespasser, the Sheoldred on 4. I mean, it's just boom, 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 right down the chain. But one of the things that is kind of nice that I found is the moment I start splashing blue in some of my decks for like make disappear, spell pierce, like spell piercing somebody's Liliana right on 3. Oh, it feels so good. Yeah, big fan. I can't get enough. Yeah, highly recommend. It lines up very nicely against that particular deck. And so as a result, like the meta has kind of shifted a little bit. Like blue has become very, more popular. And one of the things I keep hearing is I do sometimes, I've been known, okay, so I'm a Twitch streamer. I post random thoughts on Twitter, some of which are insightful, others maybe not so much. And so I get a lot of feedback on some of these things from the community, which I appreciate. And one of the things that I keep hearing, so when I complain about the black deck, because I don't like playing against it, because it's just like you're saying, the curve, it's designed to be a very straightforward, proactive approach that doesn't really care what you do.
No, it's as linear as it gets.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm gonna drop this Graveyard Trespasser. If you have a kill spell, you have to target it and then discard something. So I just 2-for-1 you with my 3-drop. But if you don't answer it, it's gonna kill you. And then like the Sheoldred hits. Okay, if you have removal for it, great. If not, it's gonna kill you. And then if you're trying to set up any kind of board state, I'm gonna hit you with Invoke Despair. I'm gonna ruin your board state and probably draw 2 cards while doming you for 4. Like, if you don't answer it, it's gonna kill you. That's just how the whole game plan of that deck. And the thing that I personally find frustrating about going up against it is not that it is unbeatable. It is not that it is too powerful. It is not that it is ubiquitous, although kind of it certainly has been at certain points. Because whenever I do start complaining about it, people are like, "Oh, just run blue. Mono blue eats that deck alive." It's like, okay, that's fine, but what if I want to play anything else? And the thing about the black deck that I find frustrating, from a deck brewer's perspective, is the deck is so obvious.
Yeah.
It's just like you just play the best cards. Do they interact with each other? Maybe, but maybe not. Who cares? Like, yeah, if you hit Sheoldred on 4 into an Invoke Despair on 5, yeah, you gain some life. That feels good, but you were gonna play either of those cards anyway. Like, the synergy's relevant.
And I mean, even if you weren't just like playing in a mono black deck, like those cards are just good enough on their own. Excuse me, to play in a shell. Sheholder's got her grasp on me now. I'm card drawing.
Oh my goodness.
No, but like they're good enough to play on their own. They lead themselves to other strategies. I mean, we saw in the previous meta there was this whole Mono Black Rakdos Invoke Despair list that was going around in both their shades. There was a Grixis and the occasional Jund. But like that card on its own is just good. She holds her on its own, just good. When you just take the best cards that are available in a mono color like that, stick it together, and that's your deck. Like, good deck, insane synergy just by occasional cause that they're just good on their own.
Yeah. Yeah, and as somebody who like I enjoy brewing different styles of decks, and what I'm always trying to find, and I'm sure you understand this too, as you know, from the same perspective, you want to find how cards that maybe people are overlooking click together in cool, powerful ways that people don't see coming. You know, that's the best feeling when you can pull off a 2-card combo and your opponent it just kind of sits back like, wait, what? What? Yeah, it's like, yeah, no, it totally works that way. Check it out. It feels great, and I love finding that stuff. And so as a result, I have a lot of decks that have certain cards. Like I do actually have a deck with Academy Lore Master in it. You know, it's one of those like weird little cards that you don't really see a lot of people playing, but it works. You know, and actually that deck also it runs Sheoldred because
oh yeah,
why wouldn't it? If you're getting your opponent additional card draw, punish them for it. You know, but in that situation, like that deck isn't running Invoke Despair or any of that jazz. It's also running Urtai and Concealing Curtains because those are two cards that are bad because they let your opponent draw extra cards. Actually, not only do they let your opponent draw extra cards, they make your opponent draw an extra card. It's not a may. They have to draw the cards off that.
It's true. That's true.
When you have a Sheoldred down and somebody tries to like cast a kill spell and you counter their kill spell with Urtai and draw their last card to kill them, it feels like it's savage, and I love it. Yeah, it's so rude. But I highly recommend it. It's a blast. But that's a situation where, yeah, Sheoldred happens to be possibly the most powerful card to come out of Dominaria United. But at the same time, I mean, possibly, which is crazy to say in a set with Liliana the Veil in it. But here we are. Yeah,
I like, and I would agree. I think it kind of shows the development of where Standard has come to where it is now. And like, I think we can both agree that while, you know, Mono Black may be the kind of big bad on the ladder at the moment, I would say Standard's very healthy in the arena meta right now. And like you've been able to do each day, kind of make new decks. Like I do the same in some different ways as well. This is a brewer's paradise right now in the Standard meta. Arena itself, I think, is in a great spot for Standard, especially for new players to come in with the fresh meta and everything else. And despite there being a big bad deck, I do find that that's actually a good thing to have. Because let's say a new player gets into Arena, they want to build up their collection, they want to know the cards to get. When there's a big bad deck that you know is like I'll say it's probably the 45 to 50% played. I don't think it's at the 55% above. I could be wrong. Don't quote my numbers.
Sure.
But it's a known deck. People know that they're going to run into this. And if a new player comes in, a new player is probably going to be able to safe to assume they might do some reading, find out what's kind of good in the meta. You know, little Timmy who wants to play mono green or Big Stompy is going to find out that this is a deck, and you know they need to be ready with their Curian Beast Callers and their mono green Stompy because Beast Caller is going to die and they want to buff up their boards. So they're going to learn and sort of grow from their research and teachings that there is a deck I've got to play around. So it teaches some fundamental Magic the Gathering tactics to them in an early stage when freshly joining, when there is a big bad.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's funny because yes, it can become frustrating from just a gameplay perspective of going up against the same deck over and over again. But at the same time, you're absolutely right. When you're crafting your own deck and trying to create your own experience, knowing what you're going to go up against gives you a huge edge. Yeah, that's big time. Yeah, and you're right. That for newer players, I hadn't even considered that as far as new players were concerned. But you're absolutely right. I dig that.
Yeah. Arena, I think we're gonna find things will change, you know, in the coming months. Our state may kind of worsen or better, hopefully better, because
hopefully
I never like things worse. I mean, economy, please, better, but you know,
that would be nice.
Different topic, different day. But like overall, the experience, the variety of what's going in, I think is there, especially when you take an arena in like a tournament kind of aspect too, because like we see a ton of mono black on the ladder, but I don't see it as prevalent in a tournament meta. And I think that goes into like the structure of the deck, right? Because like the deck is linear, but to know how to beat it when you're going into it and sideboarding against it, it's relatively easy to sideboard against.
It is, yeah. Yeah, 100%. Because you know your opponent is going to be putting threats on board. You know there's going to be the turn 5 Invoke Despair. Like you just have to be ready for that with some kind of counter spell or some kind of way to have enough stuff on board that you can sacrifice a few things and not really worry about it. You know, those are kind of your choices to weather that storm. You either counter it or you just flood your board so you can You have some expendable stuff lying around. But yeah, you know it's coming, and you know how to. Yeah, exactly. And I find when I'm going into a competitive event, especially going into like games 2 and 3, where you have your sideboard like ready to go, it's not hard to to prepare for a deck that is as straightforward as that. The thing about the black deck in general, well, and the thing about it's not the deck. That's the other thing. I find myself keep talking about. I keep talking about the mono black deck because it's just the talking point. The truth is, the black cards are better than the other ones. That's really what it comes down to. Like you look at the invoke cycle, like compare invoke despair, which is the black one that gets a ton of play everywhere. It's a free 3-for-1 for 5 mana. No matter what. If your opponent doesn't have a board state, they just take 6 damage and you draw 3 cards.
Yeah, and
that's worth it. Like that's bonkers. And and if they do have 1 or 2 things down, they're just those things are just gone. And you may have drawn a card. Like it's amazing. So that card's great, but for obvious reasons. But then you look at it was part of a cycle. Like Invoke Justice, the white one is a reanimation spell that also puts a bunch of counters on your board. Neat. That sees some fringe play. You do see people run that. I know there's like a Boros Reanimator deck running around right now. Like I love the fact that that exists. Like that's so cool. So that sees some play. But then you look at like Invoke the Winds, the blue one.
It's not.
I want to like that card, but comparatively, it's so bad.
Yeah. I don't think I can bring myself to like that card. I mean, in concept design, I think it's cool. It's cool being like, hey, no, this is mine now, but I want to do more for 5 mana, and like you said, the Invoke cycle, one of the cards literally is just better. Invoke Despair is just better.
Yep.
And that's the way it is. That's the tool of power that's been given. And I mean, sometimes it happens.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that it's a sorcery speed, gain control of the thing, and you untap it. Like the untapping it is new. Most cards that allow you to gain control of something, you just take it in whatever state it's currently in. With Invoke the Wind, it doesn't tap it, which I thought would be a big deal, but it's just not. It's not enough to make it compete with the other ones. Like no, by a long shot.
I'll throw this question out. So like state of the meta, state of arena. Let's say maybe Brothers War coming forward, some new cards get introduced, obviously, and things like that. What if there was just we don't have an impactful card in the meta to want to play Invoke? Is that the reason why Invoke the Winds isn't good? I'm going to throw that in for the state of things in the game.
Sure. That's actually a very good point. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, to make Invoke the Winds worth it, you need to be stealing like a really big, powerful something. And if you look at, and as a Reanimator player, I'm very aware of some of the big, dumb stuff that's available in the meta. Right now, the best option, like one of the best Reanimator targets is Titan of Industry.
Absolutely.
Which, 7/7 Trampling Reach. That's a big old body. But the reason that card is so good is because of its ETB effect. So if you're invoking it, if you're stealing it, you're not getting that value at all. You're just getting the big body, which may be what you need at the time, but you're still not getting the main benefit, the main draw of that card. Like Toxrill is the only other one I can think of that would be worth stealing. But even then, it's only if your opponent has a board state, and how many people are actually running Toxrill right now. Like that's not something you see very often. I mean, I am, but like, and to the point where my chat gives me a lot of grief about it. I made a cleric deck not too long ago, and I put Toxrill in it. They're like, "You found a way to put Toxrill in this?" Like, yes, I did.
That's beautiful. I love it.
And it was hitting the battlefield. It wasn't like I wasn't just like, "Yay, Toxrill!" It wasn't like my little comfort blanket slug. No, it was for real, like getting into play. Well, the cleric lord allows you to fetch up a black creature and put it on the battlefield. So that's how I was doing it. But because if you can cheat it out. That's what I'm going to cheat out. But at the same time, like, unless you're matched up against me, like, and don't get me wrong, I've gone up against people who've cast, like, Grafted Identity and stolen my Toxrill. I'm like, what? How did you do that? How did you know I was going to do that?
Grafted Identity, oh my goodness.
Grafted Identity is another great one. Yeah. It's like, it's a really cool card. Like, it has a lot of great play in the right kind of deck if there's stuff we're stealing. But right now, there really isn't.
Yeah. No, yeah. I'd agree on that. I think while the state is great, there's things that the state is lacking. And I don't mean that in a negative connotation at all. That's just how the meta is. Like, I would safely say that this is probably a mid-range meta, which is, in my opinion, one of the healthier ways of a meta. When a meta is dominated by aggro or mid-range, I find that to be one of the healthiest metas. A control heavy meta leads to a long meta. It leads to a rather we're gonna play out till like turn 10 or 11. I'm like, I don't mind line games. I like grindy games. I'm a Jund player. I love sacrifice. That's good, but I don't just want to land pass. I wanna have my interaction, you know?
Yeah.
So I think while we're in a great state, but it'd be nice to just have that other little extra to kind of make it a nice above, a nice something that when you steal it, something big happens. Not the, but yeah, maybe Urza.
Yeah.
Maybe Urza will be the
maybe
thing.
Urza. Yes. If the new Urza. So we're recording this like the day after the very first drip of Brother Wars spoilers came out, and they did spoil the new Urza. Just Urza Planeswalker. Just boom. This is Urza. He just hits the field, makes a statement. I like, not to go too far off topic, but you're right. Like, that Planeswalker is one that if you can steal that and your opponent can't kill it, it's gonna be gross. That's gonna get out of hand. So I'm hopeful. But at the end of the day, you have to invest 15 mana over the course of at least 3 turns in order to get that Planeswalker online. Oh, and you have to invest 2 cards.
Yes, that's true too, because it's a meld.
Yeah, yep, it's a meld, which is really cool. I'm glad they're doing it, and like, I'm gonna try it, but I'm not. I will be surprised if the rest of the Brothers War, changes the meta in a way that allows that card to be successful, because that card gets blown out by like Fading Hope or Infernal Grasp.
100%.
And that hurts. And you may think like, wait a minute, those can only target creatures. Well, when you activate the Urza creature to trigger the meld, once that's on the stack, in response, you can bounce or kill Urza, or use an Abrade on the artifact, the other piece, and then all of a sudden you don't own 2 of them anymore, and the effect fizzles. And like, that hurts. That would feel just awful. So,
that's
like, it's a cool design. I like the idea, but it's requiring It's requiring you to have 2 specific cards to play one after the other, and then hit a 7 mana activation. The turn after, all without interruption. Like, I will be shocked if that card makes any kind of waves competitively. But at the same time, if somebody kills me with it, I'm gonna be over the moon about it. I feel that way when people like attack me for lethal with Mech Titan. I was like, you did the thing, yes.
Yes.
Like,
I agree.
let's go. I love it.
When we have those like cool niche cards, I'll say it, like getting that kind of feeling when you can see those being played in them, and I think that's also great because it's like the fringe viability of what's a non-meta deck coming in for like a sweeping cool kill. Again, coming into the variety of decks that we can see today are fantastic as compared to what we probably had 2 sets ago, when it was really just like, here is Azorius control meta, here's Jeskai combo, and I think we had like one other deck going around. Then we had the wave of Rakdos for a bit and stuff, but right here, right now, I think like we've said, things feel great. A little bit extra, it would be like, the cherry to the topping, but it feels great. I do want to say though, so the state we feel is good. What do you think would make the state great? Whether it be obviously changes to the economy, I think we both agree that's 100%. A needed thing. But
yeah, in
terms of maybe like something nice to the UI, nice to the game, something a little extra. What would be the thing to bring the state to a great position for you?
That's a great question. So Magic Arena, in my opinion, so yeah, we talked a lot about Standard because like there's clearly a tie there, but I think Arena is doing a good job of being the most approachable way to play Magic right now, and it's based around all the newer cards, so that helps boost Wizards profits, I'm sure, by getting people interested in the formats that they can go to their local game store and draft, or build a physical deck and kind of migrate off of the digital into the paper if they want to do that, which is cool. Like, if people want to go that route, 100% do it up. I have plenty of Magic cards myself, it's part of the deal. But the things, there are a number of little technical things on Arena that I think it'd be nice if things changed. A couple basics that people have been just hammering into the ground on social media and in other forums, so we don't need to go into too much detail, but I do want to throw kind of my voice into the mix on this, kind of backing it up. Spectator mode. And the reason that a spectator mode is important is not so that like I can see, oh hey, Astrals is online, I wonder what he's playing, boop, and just pop in and watch you, which that's fine. Like, that experience is okay, like whatever. But the main reason that we need it on the client, and the reason that you hear so many people talking about it, is so that when Cedric Phillips and Marshall Sutcliffe are doing commentary for a Pro Tour match, they can pull up a spectator mode so that no matter what, all the cards are in English, and you see both hands, and they can even hover over cards as they talk about them to bring them up and display them on screen. So there are no technical issues, and on top of that, you're getting a live feed of the game actions that are in full 1080p or whatever, without having to take two different Discord calls and mash them together the way they're doing now. Which, I mean, to be fair, there have been some really good Pro Tour coverages with the system that they have today. I'm not saying, but at the end of the day, it's being held together with popsicle sticks and duct tape when they really should just have the right system on the back end to get that presentation at the level where I think Wizards wants it. And so people have been talking about that for a really long time. And I know, I do commentary for the pizza box tournaments, and we do, it's all through Discord, and we make it work. And again, I feel like, the organizers and everybody do a great job working with what they have. But in actual spectator mode, oh my goodness, it would make it so much smoother. It's not even funny. So that's one that I think we definitely need to have. Other ones is default lands, or the ability to hide certain land styles.
Oh, please.
That was that's a gimme. Because so you mean to tell me I need to spend 1,000 gems on a set of art styles, and then every single time I want to add them to any one of my decks, I need to shift through a whole bunch of crap I don't care about to get to them? Come on. That's nuts. You're giving and I'm happy to invest, a couple, some gems or some gold on cool looking lands, because we're all playing with our lands constantly. We're just they're a huge part of the game. So sure, have fancy ones, bling them out. I have no problem with that, but just make it easier to use them.
Yeah.
That's something that I think is, that's a slam dunk. I can't imagine that's hard to implement.
No, I can't either. And even just the same card styles in general, geez, the amount of times I've built the Jund deck. No surprise, you know me.
Yeah.
But having to I have every card art of Nixilis, and I have a very specific one I like. I like the showcase, old style frame. He's sitting in the chair. He's got a back, looks like a boss. I bought the others because they were cool too, but I like that one. I like to put it in my fancy deck because I like my card styles. I'll pay some gems once in a bit. We're not going to go into tax exemptions and any of that. That's a whole other topic. Don't worry
whole
about
other topic. Yeah.
Anyways, I like that art, but every time I have to be no, it chooses the extended art. I have to click it, switch it, select it, put it in, and I'm just this is 4 clicks too many.
100%. Yeah. 100%. Well, and when it comes to card styles too, they seem to have one default card style, in any card that has multiple styles that are default to Horn. And for a lot of cards, they have the normal style or the parallax, kind of the digital foil equivalent, whereas the extended art that kind of moves a little bit. Quite neat. And if those are the only two styles, yeah, default to the fancy one, because that's probably what I'm going to want. But yeah, in your case, and I have the same issue with Fatal Push. I have 3 different arts for Fatal Push. And if I'm playing an Explorer or Historic, I probably want Fatal Push in my black decks, right?
Absolutely.
It's a go-to. Well, recently they did a big sale where they put a bunch of Yargle card styles.
Yes, the Yargle one, yes.
And the Yargle Fatal Push, I was I can't say no to that. So that was on sale. I was yeah, no, take my money. But for some reason, I have another one that shows one of the Aetherborn from Kaladesh. It's not the one where he's getting kicked, it's the one where he's falling backwards, and you see him on the way down, which is fine. It's a cool piece of art, but it's not the one with Yargle on it.
Yeah, you want your
I want the one with Yargle on it, and it defaults to that one instead of the Yargle one every time. And then if I select the Yargle one, the little apply styles button in my deck builder pops up, and it's I did, I applied the styles I wanted, you can leave. It's so it's one of those that that UI is not amazing right now. Making that a little smoother to select aesthetics would be huge. Yeah. Or even for a specific card, if it remembered your selection, if it just recognized, oh, you have up Nixilis. Well, in your last deck, you used the one where he's sitting down with the pinstripe suit. Okay, so that's probably what you want now, right? It's yes, thank you, and just default to that.
Something like that would be amazing. I absolutely agree. I think spectator games be huge, especially for tournament coverage for the Pizza Box Open or any other tournaments that are going on. Just absolutely huge. And quite frankly, the example you used of just popping the game to see how a friend does, I used to do that in Hearthstone.
Sure.
Honestly, so
yeah.
to be honest, if I was logged on and I saw a friend playing in a game, I might be like, oh, I'm just gonna go pop in and see how HamHocks is doing today. And I would love that, because instead of just being like, trying to type in and maybe interrupting a match, I can just be like, I'm gonna spectate and watch it and check it out. But like,
yeah,
small updates like that one.
Yeah, and I don't see any problem with that. And I know, games like Hearthstone or Eternal, they have spectator modes, and there is a setting where you can turn it off, so you can make it so that, like, okay, I would rather people not just pop in and watch my games, but by default it's turned on. And yeah, if a friend wants to pop in and just see what I'm up to, and I know, like, I stream during the morning, but I do group challenges, so my friends list is loaded with people who've like popped in and out of my stream over the years, and yeah, if somebody wanted to, like, if I was playing late at night testing a deck out or something like that, I want to show off on stream the next morning. If people wanted to come in and see what I was up to, like, if they're also up in the evening, sure, get in here. Like, like, I see zero problem with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it became more of a social experience like that, then who knows? That might benefit. That could also help, because that gives people ways to engage with the game, even if they don't feel like playing themselves. And I think at the end of the day, the more time people are plugged into that client, the more ultimately money Wizards is going to make. Exactly. Like, and they're a business. It's part of the, like, when people talk about, like, oh, Wizards is just trying to make money from us, they're just trying to squeeze money out of us. It's like, yes, like, they're
it's
business.
a business.
Like,
that's what they do. I mean,
but we want to make sure that they give us that we give them the money tied to things that we want to receive. If they're giving us stuff we like, we give them money back. They like that, everybody wins. It's the system, right? That's where we got to be.
It is. But like, I would agree with your analogy. Like, the longer someone's on a client, the more likely they're going to be to spend money. Even if they're a dedicated free-to-play player, they may not be spending money, but they are spending their time on the client and telling other people about it. And that is still advertising in its own way. And I won't go too far down, because this is a whole other rabbit hole of marketing nice. But the more time that you're spending on a client is time investment that you're giving them. And that's not time that you're spending making money on another thing. So you're what we'll call, I think it's operation or opportunity cost is the term of time you could be spending making money is time spent doing something else. So your opportunity cost is being now paid to the game you're playing. And that's a bonus for Wizards and more. And honestly, like, I'd be happy just to kick in a late night and spectate a game to relax.
Totally.
Especially even just for like the new player experience. Like, let's say we've got a friend who just started into Magic. They want to get into it. They want to understand some plays. They've done the tutorial, but they want to see how we play the game. And we don't want to just do it through like a Discord sharing. They want to like spectate, kind of get that feel in, talk them through and stuff. And like, spectating makes that so easy to do. And I think that would even help the new player experience even more.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and 100%. Couldn't agree more. I think that would help a lot. So I don't know, like, as far as the updates to the game or improvements that can help the health of MTG Arena going forward, what kind of stuff would you like to see? Yeah.
See, for me, it's definitely the spectator mode is a big thing for me. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind getting a little bit better suggestions on deck suggestions.
Okay.
So not so much for myself, but for a new player. And I'll use this as an example for another game. So let's say you are building a deck in Hearthstone. Hearthstone has this feature called the autofill. You put in a few cards, and then it'll use an AI selection to select cards that are known synergistic with the cards you put into the deck to auto-finish the deck. If I'm a new player and I'm entering in and say, I want to try Explorer because I don't want to play the new thing. I like the old thing, and I'm new, and Bone Crusher Giant looks awesome. I'm gonna put 4 Bone Crusher Giants in my deck. I want to see how it's gonna autofill my deck, and it might autofill mono red. I don't know, but for some reason I'm a new player wanting to play Explorer. I'm gonna go with that synergy.
Sure, I mean, hey, well, but if the person who got you into the game is really into Explorer and they have a deck that's awesome and they want to like play games with you, you're gonna want to match their format. That's a normal. So I mean, the idea of like, I've never played Magic before, let's dive into Explorer. Okay, that may not happen, but the idea of like, oh well, my buddy here is playing an Explorer. I want to check that out. I want to see what it's about. I want to be a part of it. Yeah, I had never thought of an autofill as part of the deck building, but you're absolutely right.
Maybe not even like an autofill, but like a suggestion. Like, you've put in these cards. Maybe you sat on the deck for like 20 seconds because timing, you're like, I'm not sure what else I'm going to put in. Maybe a little prompt kind of highlights itself being like card suggestions, or maybe it's a tab. I don't know, but something to like help the deck creation process for new players, people that want to get into the brewing, or just expanding their profile of what they want to try and work with. I think that would be a phenomenal feature. Card suggestion runoff. That for me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, man.
Right. Well, and that's one of those things, like you and I, we know the cards pretty darn well. But even then, who knows? Maybe an AI could find like some obscure uncommon from Ixalan that happens to line up really nicely with what we're doing. It's like, what?
Yeah.
I had never thought about that. Get in here, like, yeah. But and the flip side of that is from thinking from, okay, if I was trying to sell this idea to Wizards, and if you're listening, this is free. This is free, Wizards. Yeah. At the end of the day, if an AI is suggesting rares and mythic cards, which presumably it would, those would cost wild cards.
Mm-hmm.
To get wild cards, people would need to buy packs. So like that card suggestion, again, it ties back into the money. But if the end user is getting value out of those suggestions that can help craft a deck that's capable of winning games, they don't mind crafting the wild cards and fleshing out their collection. So again, it all ties back. It all comes back around. Yeah, at the end of the day, if we get a good experience, we're willing to spend money. That's just how it works. Yeah.
And that's it. If the experience is worth it, and I think, like we've said at the start, Arena feels like it's in a good state. The metas feel nice. I know we didn't really touch on the Explorer, Historic, Brawl, other metas, but strictly speaking, as an interaction of some of the new cards of variable, everything feels very diverse. Standard feels nice to us. That is probably what may be a focus of what gets talked on a bit, because we play that a lot, but we'll try to focus on some other formats too. Everything needs a little bit of love.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. No, that's interesting stuff. I like it. Yeah, I feel like we touched on some of the stuff. The other thing that I would love to see, that again, a lot of people have been hammering on about, and I'm just gonna go ahead and toss my voice into the mix too. More older sets. That's one thing. Right now, we have cards dating back. So Explorer and Historic go back to Kaladesh. It's Almaket and Kaladesh. I can never remember which one comes first, but those are like kind of the two oldest sets. Prior to that, looking at standard legal sets, we had Shadows over Innistrad. Why hasn't there been any talk about like a Shadows over Innistrad remastered set?
More remastered sets. That's a good
More
one.
Remastered sets would be huge.
That would be nice.
Yeah. Well, and they talk about Explorer becoming Pioneer, and right now they're using the anthologies to help us get closer, and I appreciate that. It's something, but why not the remastered sets? Because that also gets the draft players engaged. And it gets us closer to bringing in the full card pool, or by getting a huge chunk all at once. I think, from the user perspective, that's really smooth, and I liked those remastered sets a lot. And we haven't seen one in a long time. No, and that's a shame.
So let's say, what if we did, if there was a Shadows over Innistrad remastered set, that would solve a lot of the community's, I think, I don't want to call it problems, but the community's push for more cards, especially the Pioneer cards, because Shadows of Innistrad had quite a few in it, especially like Emrakul, because Emrakul does get played in Pioneer in some rather a little bit off meta decks, but it does get played. It's a prevalent card, and it's not a cheap card in paper. It is like $100, and having that in Arena and the cards in that set in Arena in a remastered set forces you not to have to just automatically buy a ton of packs. Obviously you can, but you can play sealed. You can draft it, you can craft it. You have all these ways, and it's not just like 20 cards in. It's a whole fresh thing. And that, when a fresh set comes in, that's a drafter's haven. I think that would be great. If we had Pioneer remastered sets coming in now, that would be great. I want that.
Well, and think about looking at the last couple of months. Could you imagine when the Alchemy Horizons Baldur's Gate entered? I listen to a couple of draft podcasts, even though I don't draft as often as maybe I should. I enjoy it. I just don't do it as often. But it was funny listening to other content creators, and the general community feedback was very meh on Baldur's Gate. Some of these cards are fun, but I'm not really into it. If it had been a remastered set, because it came out in the gap between Streets of New Capenna and and Dominaria United, which was a really big gap. That was like a 4 or 5 month window where we didn't have anything. And so they dropped Baldur's Gate as the premier Mastery Pass set on Arena. And a lot of people who were turned off by Alchemy were turned off by it, which makes sense because it's not the game you go to play.
Yeah.
So like if I'm here sitting here playing Magic and Hearthstone comes out with a big update that my friends are jazzed about, it's like, okay, that's awesome, but that's not the game I'm playing. And if I'm really into Standard or really into Draft, they're like, here's Baldur's Gate. It's like, well, I'll try it, I guess, but like that's not the game I want to play. Like it's not the experience I'm looking for.
Yeah.
But had it been like an Innistrad remastered kind of situation,
Beautiful.
that's a whole different discussion. I think the community response to that would have been amazing, and the timing in that particular instance would have been perfect. So I haven't really taken a look at the release calendar for next year to really kind of identify where those gaps are. But there is usually at least one chunk during the year where there's a big gap between standard sets. Like, drop a remastered set in the middle of that. People are gonna lose their minds in the best way.
Oh,
like that'd be awesome. Anyway,
I would take it.
Yeah.
No, I think that sums up some really good points though. So like, I mean, going through like MTG Arena as a state feels good. Metas feel good. Standard feels fun. Variety. Mono black is a thing, but there's ways to deal with it. Some cool suggestions that could be done, like spectator mode would be a great thing to bring Arena up to a spot. Being able to have ways to kind of autofill decks or check out cool decks. Never have the sound bug again would be nice.
Yeah, that'd be good.
But like small little niceties to increase it, giving us more remastered sets, I think would take Arena to a cool spot. But I think we've said Arena still feels like it's in a good state. And I think I'm excited to see what's going to come forward in the next few months for the State of Arena, especially with the landlords.
Absolutely. Yep. 100%. Yeah, we're gonna be this show is gonna be a weekly occurrence. We're planning on getting together regularly to talk about whatever's going on in the world of Magic and break down what's going on. We're gonna bring you listings every week about interesting topics and how things move forward. This one was specifically focused on Arena because it's where we play the majority of our games, and I think a lot of people do because it's just one of the easiest ways to just jam games of Magic out there. But we do other things as well. Like we both play Commander quite a bit. We have I know I have spent far too much time and energy in physical cardboard as well in various formats. A lot of exactly. Like I don't want to think about it too much.
Let's not look at that number.
Yeah, exactly.
Retirement fund.
Yeah,
that's our retirement fund.
Exactly. Let's go with that. Yeah. But but at the same time, the truth of the matter is we both love this game and we want to share that with you, and we hope you do too. So yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. I definitely appreciate it. So how are we doing the sign off? How are we doing this? Yeah, this is our first go around.
Yeah, how we are your landlords, getting your listings sorted so you don't have to. I think that was good. Is that all right?
I think it was good. I think it works.
I like that. Hey, and where can the people find you, my friend?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/HamHocks42. I'm also over on the YouTubes, putting out, various talking head videos and deck techs when I get a chance to. Yeah, that's HamHocks42 as well. One of the nice things about having an awkward number in your names, people tend not to scoop your username. It's nice. I'll take it. Yeah, so that's where they can find me. And how about you, my friend? Where can people find you?
Y'all can find me at Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and YouTube at Astralsflame. Much like Ham, I'm doing the Arena thing, the Commander thing. Funny story, I guess, about my name. So it used to be Astralflame, but I had to stick the S in because Astralflame was taken on a lot of platforms, so the S wasn't. So that's how I got my username on every platform. That's the solution. Stick random numbers or stick a letter in. Guarantee someone doesn't have it.
100%.
But we are your landlords. We're going to be listing off more stuff next time. Keep listening, and we'll keep selling you good stuff till then.
Bye-bye.